Welcome to another month, another email, another video. This month I'm talking about volunteering. Very important. It's important for the world. The world needs volunteers. That's how we function. Almost every local business organisation starts as a voluntary organisation. Whether it's intended to be for profit or not, it will start as a voluntary. Why? Bear with me. The money you pay for your goods, for your services, at the beginning of the life of that business or organisation is enough usually to pay rent, pay bills, pay to replenish the stock. It might even be enough to push the quality of stock up. It'll pay for training. But to pay the worker, the only person, the person who's founded this organisation, some sort of real wage is going to be very rare. And that's why many businesses, local businesses, have business loans. Whilst when you go to the bank, you say, well, I'm using the money to get the stock, blah, 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 and all that. Actually, it doesn't really matter. All the money comes together and you're probably using the loan to pay, to actually live, as opposed to what you've put it there for. Long term is the difference between the organisation and the local business. The business, long term, as it picks up speed, as it picks up customers and clients, will make profit. That profit will then go into more workers. The founder will be able to get a better car, will be able to have a better, we'll be able to pay that loan off. And that is the idea. And then they become self-sustaining. The local organisation, however, the not-for-profit, continues with its services, with its products, but won't actually pay anything to workers. They're called volunteers. And communities need volunteers and voluntary organisation. It's the foundation of every community. I mean, volunteers not just running organisations or helping in your theatre or your local youth group. Volunteering is also what you do when you go next door and you do a bit of DIY for your neighbour. Or you go down into town and you pick up groceries for that old dear over the road. Obviously you have the organisations, that is what we call formal volunteering. But as we continue to battle the current health crisis as we continue to battle the current health crisis and pandemic, here in the UK, we saw 500,000 people sign up to volunteer with the NHS and to support the effects of helping people through lockdown and the virus. Now, last month, January 21, I said the world needs the creative industry. Well, the world also needs volunteers. For the creative industry, volunteers are very often the backbone in local settings. And the volunteers are the foundation to which that local setting, that local creative setting is on. I'm not saying that the industry should offer the services for free. Of course not. I said in the Paradox of the Art series, which I will link in the box below, and also it will be on the screen at the end. But what I said in that series is that what we do, the arts, the crafts itself may not cost us anything, because we can sing, we can use our voice. We don't need to pay to use our voice. We don't need to pay to create pictures in the sand or sculptures in the sand. But to be paid to entertain people is the right thing to do. To pay, for people to pay for the products that they take away, the end result, whether that be a picture or a sculpture, that is the right thing to do. For people to come up with scripts and bits of writing, it should be paid for because it is the right thing to do. But volunteers are where it all starts. Especially when you're in theatre or your local organisation. To get to a point to be paid, you need a starting point, and that starting point is that art group, the drama group, music group that's run in town. And they are so often run by volunteers. And even in local theatres, small local theatres, when they put on that lovely production, they still need volunteers to usher, to run the box office, to run the bar. But you should always pay to go and see the production because it is the right thing to do. As part of the new Greatest Show on Earth project, I created a central database. A bit of software that and worked with people from Better Impact, volunteer software organisation online. As part of the new Greatest Show on Earth project, I came up with the idea of a centralised database for volunteers across the creative industry. This was not in any way a takeover, because it's important that every organisation, every theatre works independently. It's important that every theatre is unique in the way it operates. What this central database does, and the aim, is that we can track hours centrally. So we can see, as an industry, how many hours our volunteers are putting in and what they do. Many theatres, local theatres, still work what I call old school. Your application forms are bits of paper, or send an email. It's a standardised form, and it doesn't matter where you are. The software can be created to personalise local theatres, using bits that you want and don't want. Because what we found through this pandemic, when organisations like UK Theatre and some of the unions have sat with government, is that government are struggling to understand the impact of the industry. Now, again, that's something that I've spoken about in the Paradox of the Arts series, and you could go and check that out. But our impact is far greater than just performing, than just drawing, than just singing. our impact we have on our volunteers. So check out this short piece. This is another organisation that actually uses software which yours truly is actually proposing that we use, but you'll be able to see exactly what it does, and you'll be able to see how it is important that it comes together. It's actually the Salvation Army, an international organisation, so they have volunteers. Okay, I want you to have a look at this next piece. It's really important. It gives you an idea about the software. It's a very short, it's not even a demonstration, it's just an overview of how it will help not just local theatres but across industry. It's how an organisation, I think most of us know them, the Salvation Army, an international organisation, uses a central volunteer system. Okay, we're all different theatres, but we all have the same aim. Anyway, check it out.
Our enterprise system has a hierarchy built in from the territory through to divisions and down to the corps or other ministry unit level. This manager of volunteers at the corps level or a specific program will be able to do things such as communicate via email or text with all or some subset of her volunteers. She won't have any access to the volunteers in other accounts. At the divisional level, the administrators will be able to communicate with all or some subset of the volunteers within their division. In the territorial headquarters, the administrators will have the ability to communicate with all or some subset of the volunteers across the whole territory. Reporting works in a similar fashion. This manager of volunteers at the corps or program level will be able to generate reports on all or some subset of her volunteers. At the divisional level, the administrators will be able to generate reports on all or some subset of volunteers across their division. At territorial headquarters, the administrators will have the ability to generate reports on all or some subset of volunteers across the whole territory. Divisional and territorial headquarters have the ability to monitor what is communicated to volunteers and the ongoing relationship volunteers have with the corps. From knowing where in the territory each volunteer is engaged to reports on volunteers, hours, and outcomes, the territorial headquarters can have a bird's-eye view of everything related to volunteerism across the territory. Territorial headquarters can standardize the volunteer experience and data collection in a number of ways, and none of these require assistance from the IT department. Some of these ways include the following. The colors and other branding elements of the volunteer portal are easy to change and are controlled by territorial headquarters. Any change made here flows through to the volunteer portal for every volunteer in every corps. Adverts for volunteer opportunities and full-fledged position descriptions can be created as templates at the territory level and then replicated and tweaked if needed by each corps. Volunteers will have a consistent experience wherever they live throughout the territory. Volunteer management staff at the territorial headquarters can easily add whatever custom fields they want to the volunteer profiles. These are just examples used in another territory. Custom fields added here are automatically part of the volunteer profiles in every corps account and, where applicable, in their application forms and in their volunteers' own personal portals. A corps or other ministry unit can make their local account their own in ways that make sense. Some of these ways include the following. A corps can choose which opportunities designed by the territorial HQ they need to advertise, turn them off when they are not needed, and if desirable, create their own from scratch. Each corps can assign different people to customizable security levels that have specific rights in the software. Some can have access across most functions, while others might only be able to see reports. Each corps can post local pictures and news that will appear in the volunteer portal. Applications flow directly into the individual corps when a new volunteer applies. For the volunteer, they can browse or search for volunteer opportunities in a variety of ways, including your Ways to Help themes, across their division, or their local corps. Each corps can even have its own volunteer opportunity page. When a volunteer finds something they like, they can fill in an online application. Volunteers will feel a real connection with the Salvation Army, not only at the corps level, but also as a part of a larger army through territorial news and social media in their personal volunteer portal. They'll also find all of the volunteer information in one place. They can sign up for shifts they're qualified to fill, check their schedule, log their volunteer hours, see reports on their volunteer hours, email their volunteer manager, and update their profile. And they can do all of this from their computer, tablet, or smartphone. If a volunteer happens to move from one corps or division to another, all of their existing information flows with them.
Hi, I'm Rob.
So, from that, everybody who's joining the industry as a volunteer will have the same process, the same experience at signing up. They can move between theatres, they can take their record, their hours, and we can see what's happening. And if we come to a pandemic or something that forces closure and we're looking for funding, we can say, this is the impact we are having. They're able to interact with the local rota. Those who run theatres will have more time to do what's more important, that's be creative. Work on the creative programme. And as a bonus, events and festivals that don't necessarily happen in a theatre can tap into the system and find prospect volunteers without having to sign them up. And in fact, those volunteers, they can still sign up volunteers, and those volunteers may go on to help in local theatres. So if you'd like more information on how you get involved in this database, this bit of software, all the usual channels of contact which are in the description. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear from you how your volunteering is, what you've done during the 12 months that we've been closed. If you're a volunteer in theatre, I would love to hear about what impact your theatre's had on you and why it's important that we get this up, this running again as soon as possible. And finally, the software itself is going to be used, well, I'm going to be using it for as I bring together Community Spirit, the event, on the 7th of August 2021. If you have, if you've liked the page, and finally, I will be using this bit of software as I create this year's Community Spirit on the 7th of August 2021. So, if you are somebody local in Somerset and you want to be part of that, head to our website on the 22nd of February. The application will open. Otherwise, you can see our website up to that point. Up to that point, you can see our website, or my website, rather. Again, all the links are in below. You can check it all out. Next month, I'm going to talk about the 2025 Trust Fund, the charity that I keep talking about, and people go, what? It's an important charity. It's what Community Spirit is going to be raising money for. Don't forget, you can share this video, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you hit the bell when you've subscribed, you will get the notifications for when it uploads or when I upload. Okay. So until next month, thank you very much. Bye-bye.